AUC-programma was een programma om docenten en leerlingen die verder wilden kijken dan de normale stof met elkaar in te brengen. Docenten kregen de gelegenheid om onderwerpen te behandelen die zij graag behandelden en over spraken en ons wijzer wilden maken. En wij kregen de mogelijkheid om naar te luisteren en daarop te reageren en dat te verwerken in de workshops die we deden met de studenten. En op die manier werd er gekeken naar onderwerpen die buiten het normale schoolcurriculum vielen.
Then Stuart Hall, on the note of reading artifacts, is talking about how we can read in three different ways. So he distinguishes three types of readings or types of readers. The first is the dominant hegemonic reading, and this is how the text is supposed to be read. So it's a dominant, reading of the object or the text. So the viewer receives dominant message of an image or text in an unquestioning manner. And unquestioning is sort of important, so you're not really aware of that you're reading, you're just perceiving like the mainstream message of the text. Then the second is the negotiated reading, which sort of like, what's in the name, like it negotiates the reading or the meaning from the dominant message. So it negotiates the interpretation and its dominant meaning. And then the third reading is the oppositional reading, which opposes those two readings. And it recognizes like the ideological position embodied in an image and then rejects it altogether or it disagrees with it. So applying this to the Troy case study, can you identify the dominant hegemonic reading in there? Anyone? How is it supposed to be read? How are we supposed to perceive the film?
So not the reading, but the actual film. What is the main story? Who are our heroes?
Yeah. Good.
The Achilles was like a masculine, manly hero.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Okay, good. And also on a larger note that it's a story with the masculine hero about war and that it's supposed to be seen as entertainment, right? What would be a negotiated reading in which you sort of negotiate this reading of it being entertainment about a story about war and a masculine hero or masculine heroes?
Maybe the love story involved in the story. That, it's the heterosexual love story. So it might suggest that that's how it should be. Maybe somebody can interpret that.
Yeah, you're a little.
That's a clue.
It's more of like the ideological position, but before that, how can you question? Like negotiating is more like questioning it. So we did this before. Go on. It would be more like questioning whether it's really like the story about heterosexual men and whether it's also a story about maybe more homosexual contact between Patroclus and Achilles and more sort of doubting this and making more unstable the meaning of like the macho man in the film. Sort of destabilization of this like certain image of the story because we know like the story in the Iliad was different. Then the oppositional reading, you already mentioned it. Can you elaborate on it?
Well, maybe the heterosexual love story that was imaged. Maybe somebody may disagree with being heterosexual, and that's maybe oppositional reading.
Yeah.
In theory.
Someone else who wants to add or give an oppositional reading? Yeah.
Well, I think generally anyone that knows the original story and has, or maybe read it, that knows that their interpretation is not the only one and that there are different kinds of ways that you can see it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so I'd say the ideological position embodied in the image or in the film in this case is sort of the heteronormativity, so the heterosexual couple or the heterosexual male and female as sort of the standard that's being imposed. And you could say, well, I don't agree because it's not how it works in reality, because there are homosexual couples and homosexual people. Okay?
Like when you question it. Well, I thought it was he says things about his previous artwork about money and all this, the whole world is only about making profit and wanting to get money, but he actually gets a lot of money for his own work. Like he sold his art for over $1 million, and that's quite weird if you have a statement that says, well, not everything is about money, and then you get a lot of money for it. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, often his art is sort of critique, or is sort of classified as critique of consumer culture, which is a lot about consumption and buying stuff and money, of course. But then again, isn't this work itself a consumption or a consumer good, which is being bought and sold?
Yeah.
Yeah?
But it says in the article that it was sold for $60, not for $1 million.
Which one? Like the print or the actual mural?
Original article.
Yeah, like Banksy himself doesn't really earn a lot of money from his works because he just sells them for really cheap, for $60 or so. But like other people, like for example this image, the slave labor was taken out of the wall and it was sold at an auction for $1 million. So it's sort of the question with Banksy, is his critique really successive in a way that it's only for the rich people to be seen?
Well, no, because it's well, it is removed and sold, but I guess it's the intends to have art on places where it's open for public. I mean, it's just on the street, so if it would stay there, it should be viewable for everyone.
Yeah, but
So
the people who respect his art are actually listening to it. They kind of starting to realize that their lives are maybe too much about money, but they are already realizing it when they see this art. And people who actually need to change their lifestyle, they don't see it because for them it's like a dirty wall. You know, they don't see the art in it, so they also won't see his statement. I think. I don't know, but maybe.
Well, I also think that Banksy has kind of become a cultural phenomenon, though, so that would mean that, so in contrast to normal graffiti, which people actually ignore, Banksy is quite a known artist and has kind of sparked a discussion, and a lot of people know who he is, and the fact that his art is being sold for lots of money also means that there are rich people who know who he is and who appreciate his art, and so I think it does kind of reach their circle.
Yeah, like the question with accessibility, I mean, he uses the means of making street art so it's visible for everyone. But then again, a lot of, after his murals are seen, there are like Banksy spotters, they notify other people through the internet. People go there and take the mural away for profit. So like we can question whether Banksy's intentions are still like meaningful. So I mean, he tries to put this meaning into the artwork, but the artwork is put out there and people take it away. So is it still holding that meaning of accessibility? That's the thing we can question.
voor the End Conference kreeg iedereen de gelegenheid om een eigen thema, onderwerp en presentatievorm uit te kiezen. Ik koos om een essay te schrijven over een formule die alles in het universum zou moeten duiden. Later werd dat een presentatie. En die presentatie mocht ik doen voor een zaal van 150 mensen. En tot mijn grote trots was ik een van de weinige acts die daarvoor gekozen werden.
I'm delighted to start this stage performance off with my presentation about a formula that describes the universe. And well, here we go. Three subjects fascinated me the most the last couple of months. The beauty of formulas, the classical philosophical ideas, and the universe. And I set out to combine these three things into one very simple formula which could philosophically describe everything. And I say philosophical, and I emphasize this, because, well, the mathematical solution of it would be rather dull, so I will keep it philosophical. So here's the formula. N times 0 plus 1 in between brackets equals everything in this universe. And to make you understand this rather simple, and yet in my own humble opinion, maybe even complex formula, I will have to explain more about the elements involved. And every formula has its variable, and in this case it's the n, which stands for everything that has ever happened. And that can be enormous things, like an exploding star billions of light years away, or it can be smaller things, like a raindrop falling down, or it can even go down to the smallest pieces of the universe, an atom moving a nanometer. And so we do know where the n stands for. The problem is that we have no clue whatsoever which value we have to fill in for it. And that really actually doesn't matter, since we also don't have an exact figure for everything that is right now in this universe. So one thing we also know is that the n is always getting bigger and bigger, and I will come back to this later. So the theory behind the 0 plus 1 is based upon the philosophic ideas of Parmenides, a Greek pre-Socratic philosopher who lived around 500 BC. His work states that everything that is, and everything that is not, is not. So what he did was separate very clearly the things that really exist and you can touch, you can feel, you acknowledge, and the things that don't, where you really don't have any imagination of. So the 0 and 1 is based upon his ideas, and so I picked the 1 that stands for everything that is, because I think that everything in the universe that is right here, right now, can be at least divided through 1. So the 1 is fitting and is based on Parmenides. The 0 stands for everything that is not, and there's actually a quite complex concept behind it. You see, we all have this idea of the things that aren't there. Call it the phantom world, consisting out of unrealized ideas, potential, and thoughts. But they still are something. And because they are something, they must be mentioned in the means of the 0. And the 0 is an excellent symbol for this, because it is something, but it doesn't alter one thing about 1. So that was about 0. And there are a couple of underlying structures and interpretations yet to be mentioned, and in the second half of my presentation I will tell you about this and try and hopefully succeed in convincing you that this formula can hold up, and maybe even there's more to it than you might think. So I already mentioned that the mathematical solution can make the formula rather dull, so well, here we go. The mathematical solution, if you apply the mathematical rules, you will get that n equals everything in this universe, meaning that everything in this universe equals everything that has ever happened. And this is clearly not an exact formula, and I really don't even want to try to make it exact. Because what I tried to do with this formula, with n times 0 plus 1, is to comprehend something as complex and as big as the universe in the simplest and smallest formula I could think of. And that has become n times 0 plus 1 equals everything in this universe. On this note, I would like to leave the stage, and thank you for your attention.
Ik heb het AUC Master in Teaching Program gedaan, aangezien ik op dat moment vast zat met het Honoursprogramma. Ik wist niet zo goed wat ik wilde en ik vond het niet meer zo leuk. Op aanraden van mijn hondersmentor, mevrouw Van Heijden, ging ik kijken naar dingen die ik wel gewoon leuk en interessant vond. En heel toevallig kwam toen een mailtje van de decaan binnen aangaande het AUC-programma. Ik was direct geïnteresseerd en heb me ook direct aangemeld. En dat bleek een keuze waar ik geen spijt van zou krijgen. Ik kreeg er geen spijt van, omdat ik er veel aan heb gehad. Ik kwam namelijk in aanraking met onderwerpen die ik wel interessant vond, maar mezelf in eerste instantie niet in zou hebben verdiept. Ik heb wat wiskunde meegekregen, wat geschiedenis, wat filosofie en vooral heel veel Engels. Alle colleges, alle workshops waren natuurlijk in die taal. We luisterden, we spraken, we discussieerden en schreven allemaal in het Engels. Ik heb veel geleerd qua gedachten snel en duidelijk formuleren, teksten schrijven en in samenwerken. En het allemaal in een heel prettige en relaxe sfeer met toffe mensen, docenten en studenten om mee om te gaan. Uiteindelijk is voor mij het bewijs dat dit project nuttig was dat ik uit de colleges de inspiratie heb gekregen voor mijn eerste gedicht.